Fala galera, eu sou Dark Vanzeleri e no vídeo de hoje eu tô trazendo aqui o jogo The Stanley Parable. Esse jogo é um jogo de exploração, meio que de aventura também e comédia um pouco por causa da narração. Tem um cara que vai narrando o jogo conforme a gente vai avançando e fazendo as coisas, ou então ele fala pra gente fazer as coisas também. E é mais por isso que eu resolvi escolher esse jogo aqui pro primeiro vídeo, porque eu não sou muito bom de narrar as coisas nos jogos, então esse narrador aí vai me ajudar um pouco. E eu não sei se vocês estavam acompanhando também no último vídeo do canal, eu disse que ia gravar mais agora em janeiro e tal, que o conteúdo do canal ia melhorar agora, mas agora que deu pra mim voltar a gravar e foi por isso que eu resolvi escolher esse jogo aqui pra gravar. Então vamos pro jogo. Depois de carregar aqui, ele vai começar a falar um pouquinho sobre o Steve, o que é o jogo e tal.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
É a introdução do jogo aí.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard.
É basicamente
Orders
um
came to
funcionário
him
de
through a
uma
monitor
empresa
at his
que
desk,
trabalhava na
telling
frente do
him what
computador o dia
buttons to
inteiro.
push, how long to
Ele
push
ficava
them,
seguindo
and in
instruções
what
que
order.
eram mandadas pela
This is
tela.
what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Aí agora acabou a
And then one
introdução.
day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very
Pela
clearly
primeira vez na
wrong.
empresa ele
Shocked,
conseguiu.
frozen solid,
Conseguiu não, ele não estava
Stanley
recebendo
found
nenhuma
himself
ordem,
unable to
ninguém falava
move
com
for the
ele.
longest
Aí ele
time.
começou a achar
But
estranho.
as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Em primeiro lugar, essas ordens que o narrador fala, a gente pode seguir ou não. Então eu acho que para esse começo aqui, bora simplesmente seguir o que ele tá falando. Bora sair da sala.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Agora
memo.
ele fala pra gente ir pra sala de reuniões. Eu não sei, eu não me lembro direito onde é que fica. Eu já joguei esse jogo antes, só que inclusive eu completei algumas coisas. Mas eu não me lembro.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vamos lá, na porta esquerda.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Parece que tá tendo tipo uma reunião aqui, mas tipo os slides estão passando, mas ninguém tá aqui pra ver. Aí ele fala pra gente ir lá pra sala do chefe agora.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Ao
office.
invés de descer, a gente vai subir seguindo as ordens. Esse deve ser provavelmente um final onde a gente segue todas as ordens dele. Eu não me lembro direito.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number,
Aí ele dá uma senha.
2845.
2845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Cadê o teclado? É isso aqui? Eu não sei nem como é que interage com as coisas, mas...
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
2845. Cadê esse teclado? Ah, tá aqui. 2, 4,
2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Que isso? Um elevador. Pra cá não tem nada, né? Acho que é pra apertar aqui.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Bora lá, continuar andando aqui no caminho do narrador.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Instalações do controle mental. Ah, tem esse caminho aqui também, ó, mas eu vou seguir o que ele tá falando. Fechou a porta de novo. E agora? Vou acender essa luz aqui, será?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
O que mais? Câmeras. Acho que é câmera, né? Esse aqui. Só tem esse botão para interagir.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Aqui foi de onde a gente vê. Pois é, essas telas aqui é cada um dos escritórios onde o pessoal trabalha da empresa. Parece uma sala de... tipo câmera de segurança.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Como é que a gente vai destruir os controles? Estão ali em cima, pelo que eu tô vendo. Tem vários números. Dá pra apertar aqui. Vou entrar nessa sala aqui pra ver se ele fala alguma coisa.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Acho que isso significa apertar off, né? E agora? Apagou tudo. Acabou? Ah, já sei, vai voltar pro começo, quer ver?
Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Eu acho que esse final eu ainda não tinha visto. Eu já tinha visto uma saída assim, se eu não me engano. Mas não era assim, tipo no campo. Bora ver o que acontece.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him.
Basicamente seguindo o caminho que o
This was
narrador
exactly the way, right now,
ele é libertado
that things were
daquele
meant to
controle mental que ele
happen.
tava falando antes.
And Stanley was happy.
Zero o jogo. Zerar o jogo é praticamente seguir o que ele tava falando. Acho que agora ele vai acordar de novo, né? E agora o que é pra fazer, será? O narrador não falou nada ainda. Então eu vou seguir aqui e vou fazer pra acabar o vídeo.
All of
vou
his
fazer
co-workers were gone.
caminho
What could it
diferente
mean?
pra ver o que acontece.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Eu não vou pra sala de reuniões agora. Quer dizer, é o único caminho que tem na sala de reunião. Vou desviar o caminho depois. Aqui já dá pra desviar.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Eu vou entrar agora na porta direita.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Aqui é a sala dos funcionários.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ele fica parado, mas eu não sei se ele fica parado.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Se eu continuar aqui, será que ele vai falar mais alguma coisa?
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Tá, vou sair da sala. Tem que continuar e...
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Não vou voltar. Vou direto.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Posso fazer aqui.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten
Tem um
about.
final, se eu não me engano, que dá
Please,
pra pular daqui
stop trying
e
to make
morrer.
every decision by yourself.
Eu vou fazer esse
I'm
final
not
pra voltar
asking
de
for
novo.
me. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Vai voltar de novo pro começo. Pô, a sala tá cheia de papel agora. Bora ver o que ele vai falar. Acho que é a mesma coisa.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
É basicamente o mesmo caminho, só que agora tá cheio de papel aqui, eu não sei porquê. Então vamos, eu não vou pra sala de reunião de novo, bora ver o que ele vai falar.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room.
Vou passar
What a
rápido
beaut,
agora.
but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Vou direto de novo.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Será que dá pra pular sem morrer?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Será que eu morro se
There's
eu pular
someone
daqui?
you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
O que tem aqui?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Tá, então bora pela porta vermelha agora.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Aí. O que tem aqui? Eu não vou entrar. É a mesma coisa? É a mesma coisa. O que é isso? Ah, não é possível.
And
O que tem
what
aqui?
are we looking for?
É só ir direto aqui?
Here.
Caraca,
Yes.
espaço.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Tá, não, eu vou continuar aqui.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh,
Será
no.
que...
Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Ih, não tem porta. Mas tinha uma porta quando eu olhei lá de baixo. Ué. Tenho certeza que eu vi uma porta. Ah, não dá pra olhar a porta. Tem que voltar pra cá mesmo.
Good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there.
Será que dá pra
Just
cair daqui?
stay here.
Mas não dá pra ficar aqui, vai acabar. Muito tempo. Ele vai falar de
No.
novo.
What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here.
Será que tem alguma
You
coisa?
heard me before, didn't you? You will die. What about this isn't getting through to you?
Essa porta aqui é nova.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Ele acha que eu vou me matar, eu acho. Será que eu vou fazer isso aqui?
No!
Vamos todos cantar de coração.
Oh, thank God you lived.
Não, não vou.
No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Bora ver.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Acho que agora vai.
Is it
Aí.
over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Então, vou ficar por aqui no vídeo de hoje. Esse foi o jogo The Stanley Parable. Esse jogo tem, tipo, muitos outros finais, acho que mais de 20, 30 finais por aí. E esses foram alguns finais que deu pra... Não, pera. Eu não era pra ter ido. Tá, pera. Tá, então voltamos aqui pra sala de novo, do começo. E... Não, pera. Não era pra ter aumentado. Negócio. Tá, então voltamos de novo aqui pra mesma sala. A gente tem que sair, né? Mas... Agora eu não vou sair, eu vou... Ah, o que eu tô fazendo?
Vai tomar banho.
Concentra. Tá, eu voltei de novo para aquela sala do início do jogo, então vamos ficando por aqui no vídeo de hoje. Esse foi o jogo de Stanley Parable. Ele tem muitos outros finais, mas eu só mostrei esses dois para o vídeo não ficar muito longo. E eu acho que já ficou longo até. Se você gostou do vídeo, deixe seu like, se inscreva aí no canal. Se quiser que eu traga mais conteúdo desse tipo aqui, deixe aí nos comentários. E falou!